I discovered my husband's secret identity after 12 years of marriage. Now I understand why he never wanted children. The first time I realized something was wrong with my husband's past was when he couldn't produce a birth certificate for our mortgage application. He claimed it was lost in a house fire when he was a teenager. I believed him. When we met in my late 20s, Michael told me he was an only child whose parents died in that same fire. He had no photos of his childhood, no yearbooks, no family heirlooms. I found it sad but understandable. Parent-trauma makes people distance themselves from painful memories. For 12 years I never questioned his story. Michael was kind, brilliant, and devoted. He worked remotely as a cybersecurity consultant, making excellent money while maintaining an intensely private work life. His only quirk was his absolute refusal to have children. I don't want to pass on my genes, he would say whenever I brought it up. Trust me, it wouldn't be fair to a child. I eventually accepted his decision, though it meant giving up my dream of motherhood. I loved him enough to make that sacrifice 3 weeks ago. Everything changed. Michael was in a serious car accident that left him unconscious in the ICU as his wife. I needed to provide his medical history to the doctors. When I couldn't answer basic questions about his family medical background, we need to know if T here is a history of bleeding disorders or adverse reactions to anesthesia, she explained. Is there anyone from his family we can contact? T here is no one, I said. His parents died when he was young. While Michael was in surgery, I went home to find his insurance information. In his home office desk burned the one drawer he always kept locked. Perder, I found a key to a storage unit I never knew existed. The address was for a facility across town. I shouldn't have gone. I should have respected his privacy, but after 12 years of marriage, I needed answers. The storage unit contained a single metal filing cabinet. Implied were documents with 5 different names carried complete identities with birth certificates, social security cards, passports, and driver's licenses. One of them was Michael Warren Perrin, the man I married, but according to his real birth certificate, my husband's name was Daniel Reeves. My hands trembled as I found newspaper clippings from 1994. The headline read, "Local Zegzeft charged in death of infant brother." The article described how 15-year-old Daniel Reeves had been babysitting his 8-month-old brother when the baby died from head trauma. Daniel claimed it was an accident parent that he turned away for just a moment, and the baby fell from the changing table. The prosecutor didn't believe him. There were court transcripts, psychiatric evaluations, and finally juvenile detention records. Daniel Reeves was convicted of involuntary manslaughter and served 4 years in juvenile detention. Upon release at 19, he disappeared. I sat on the cold concrete floor of that storage unit for hours, trying to reconcile the troubled teenager from these documents with the gentleman I'd shared my life with for 12 years. When I returned to the hospital, Michael perned. Daniel Pert was awake. One look at my face and he knew. "You found it," he whispered, his voice hoarse from the breathing tube they just removed. "I never hurt him," he said, tears filling his eyes. "It was an accident. I loved my brother more than anything. Why didn't you tell me?" I finally managed to ask. "How could I?" His voice broke. "Hi, I am Daniel, convicted of killing my baby brother when I was 15. Want to go on a date?" He explained everything. How after his release he'd been hounded by his small town community. How his parents had disowned him, believing he'd deliberately hurt their baby. How he'd created a new identity to escape the past and build a life where he wasn't defined by the worst day of his life. "And now you understand why I can't have children," he said quietly. I couldn't bear to hold a baby again. To be responsible for something so fragile. The fear would destroy me. I've spent the past 3 weeks in a daze, questioning everything I thought I knew about my marriage. The man I love has lived a double life for decades. He lied about his name, his past, his very identity. But as I watch him sleep in our bed, finally home from the hospital, I keep coming back to one truth. In 12 years, he has never shown a moment of violence or cruelty. He has been patient, loving, and kind. Honor perhaps because he knows better than most how fragile life can be. Yesterday, I found him crying in his office, staring at the only photo he kept from his past life. Parn a faded picture of himself at 15, holding a smiling baby boy. "That's Tommy," he said, when he realized I was watching. "It was taken the week before. Before it happened, I've carried it with me through every new identity." I sat beside him and for the first time asked about his brother. For hours, he told me stories about the baby he'd loved and lost Perrin, the tiny fingers that would wrap around his thumb, the way Tommy would giggle when Daniel made silly faces. "I've never told anyone about him," he whispered. It felt like talking about him would make the pain fresh again. I still don't know what happens next. Part of me feels betrayed by the years of lies. Another part understands why he kept the secret. The legal implications of his false identity terrify me. Would I be implicated as his wife? But beneath all these fears is a deeper understanding of the man I married. His refusal to have children wasn't selfishness part. It was fear born from unimaginable trauma. His insistence on privacy wasn't mistrust part. It was self-preservation. One night, I asked if he would consider therapy not to fix him, but to help him finally process the grief and guilt he's carried alone for 25 years. "Only if you come with me," he said. "I can't lose you too. I don't know if our